Johan, thanks so much for your time. We've looked at your numbers. I mean, still pointing to a very tough infrastructure cement space. But right now, there's a renewed optimism amongst most CEOs about where South Africa is going. Are you feeling the same positivity for yourselves and PPC specifically?
Yes, firstly, good day, and thank you for the opportunity. Yes, we really do, and I like to just go back a little bit. A few months ago, I think a few months ago, if you asked me from a PPT perspective where we were, then I probably would have said that we had quite a few things that we had to address from a priority point of view. If you ask me the same question today, I'll say that we are in a much better space. Although in the South African context, maybe the volumes are still slow, but really from a portfolio effect, our rest of Africa investments are making quite a dramatic difference to our performance. Rwanda has done extremely well, so Zimbabwe, and the Zimbabwe dispensation has changed in the past few months. So surely it's not negative anymore. We still have to wait to see if there's a quick turnaround. But being in Zimbabwe for now, I think it's probably 15 years or so, we have learned to work in Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe for us is a high volume sales area, and so is Rwanda, and I think South Africa is fairly stable for the next 12 or so months. Pardon me?
Johan, it's Karabo here. You say that...
Hi, Karabo.
You say that... hi, Johan. You say that you have managed to curb your costs, your operational costs, but there was corporate action that's intimated here, and as well as that bit into some of those costs. Do you mind telling us what some of those corporate actions were that bit into your cost-saving measures?
So maybe I should first go to some of the savings. Really, from a South African perspective, we have saved quite a bit in terms of our outbound logistics. I mean, we have optimized our footprint and our mega factories to a very large extent, and that brought our costs down significantly. There's also integration that we did with our blender that we bought some years ago, Sofika, you may remember. So all that has quite a positive impact on cost savings. Then, as said in the trading statement, the corporate action had the cost attached to it, and you can just imagine it was a regulated process that we entered into, specifically the last part of the financial year, or of the calendar year rather, where it was a process being governed by the takeover regulation panel from the JSE point of view, and it had the cost attached to that in terms mainly of advisory costs, as our legal and from a independent experts point of view and those kind of things. So it's once of costs, and we know that we will not incur the same costs going forward.
And Johan, just to wrap it up, I mean, rest of Africa operations are doing very well. I suppose that would need a separate conversation entirely. But South Africa remains the rump for PPC in terms of making profits. Growth is not expected to shoot the lights out anytime soon. You guys were recently a takeover target by many players in the industry. Question is, have we heard the last of the consolidation or merger talks? Because it really seems like it's the only way that the industry is going to keep its head above the water.
I think that there's still a case to be made in South Africa for consolidation. I also think that the offers that we were part of or received towards the end of last year, that didn't meet our expectations. For now, I think we are consolidating our SA business as far as practically possible from a freestanding point of view. But it's really not to say that there's not a case to be made for consolidation. Will it go away? No. I mean, if it makes sense, it makes sense. So, and if it meets our shareholders' expectations, it's obviously something that we have to pursue.
Johan, I'd just like to wrap things up by asking you, particularly with regards to the up-and-coming mining indaba that's happening in Cape Town starting next week, Monday. You have had to be rather clever with regards to your cement operations in Cape Town, considering the terrible drought that's engulfed the area. What innovative ways are you hoping to impart on some of your counterparts that you'll be meeting at the indaba next week?
So can I just say something about the cement or the water demand of cement? I mean, that's quite important, I think. So remember I can't remember the exact number time now, but I think it's probably one of the worst droughts in the history of Cape Town. And I think that Cape has managed to curb water consumption quite significantly over the past probably year or so. So they claim that they are using around 580 odd million liters per day. And just to give you an idea, if we look at the water demand of cement per annum, then cement per annum is probably something to the tune of 750 million liters per annum, which is roughly 1.5 days of Cape Town's current water consumption. So from that perspective, although it may sound high, it is not that significant. So what can we do about it? So from our own operations perspective, we have curbed water consumption to a level of roughly 40% of what it was normally were, and we also installed a desalinization plant at one of our operations to utilize quarry water. So we think that from that point of view, we will be able to sustain any market demand in the Western Cape. And quickly, the last thing is we have arranged a workshop to engage with construction and the government to make sure that we can help with water savings from a cement, mortar and ready mix perspective.